For generations, fisherman Jack Wells' family has been using a wooden wharf situated in the picturesque Battery enclave of St. John's, Newfoundland. It's not as sturdy as concrete, but whenever a storm hits or the extremities of the winter damage the structure, Jack and the other local residents step in to patch it up. It's a popular and well-established part of the area's local heritage, having stood in the harbor for nigh on 200 years. But now the last wooden wharf in St. John's is under threat from St. John's City Council, which wants it demolished. Chris Brooks is the chairman of the Outer Battery Neighborhood Association. We reached him in St. John's, Newfoundland.
Mr. Brooks, is the wharf still standing?
It is, yes, at the moment.
What reasons is the city giving you for wanting to demolish it?
Well, I don't think the city's given the owner of the wharf, Mr. Wells, any reasons. I'm not sure that he's been, as far as we know, he hasn't received notice from the city that they're going to demolish it. But as we understand it, the city's saying it was built it was rebuilt without a building permit. I think they're also saying it's unsafe. I think that's about it.
What attempts has the city made to demolish it so far?
Well, they sent a crew down the day before yesterday and yesterday to demolish it.
And what happened?
Well, they went away the first day when we said that really there ought to be some paperwork on this, and the owner of the property, Mr. Wells, ought to at least be notified. Yesterday, they came back, and two ladies stood at the head of the wharf and discouraged them from proceeding. And they were nice enough about it, The guys said, okay, we don't want to hassle, and they went away again, saying they would be back at 8 o'clock this morning. But they haven't turned up yet.
Well, what's happening there now, then? Are there people down there?
Well, there's somebody that lives across. We're keeping an eye on it, yeah. Basically, we all turned up this morning, and nobody showed, and personally, I'm glad of that, of course.
Mm-hmm.
So we're keeping an eye on it, and I guess if a crew does turn up with chainsaws, we'll be down there right quick.
So that's the strategy to block the crews from going in.
Well, I guess. We're not trying to break the law or anything, and in fact, that wasn't really planned yesterday. All we're trying to do is, our strategy is just trying to save the neighborhood, the heritage character of this little community. It's a unique part of St. John's. I don't think there's anywhere else you can go probably in North America, certainly in Canada, where you can find in the capital city what's really a little out harbor inside the city metropolitan area.
So if I say to you, it's just a wharf, what do you say?
Well, it's the last wharf we got here. It's the last traditional wharf we have. This used to be a fishing community until the closure of the fishery, and now it's where you can see the remains of a 500-year-old inshore fishing tradition here in the city. And what it is now is it's a wharf, and there are about 10 or 12 other properties, all of which are in the same under the same instructions from the city. The owners are supposed to either demolish or upgrade very expensively to something that's not going to look very heritage.
So what's really going on here is that they're actually trying to impose building codes where codes have never existed.
No, there's been wharves here for hundreds of years, and the Wells family's had a wharf out there for here for generations, as have other families. But there's never been a permit to repair required. As far as we know, there isn't actually a building code that applies to wharves. I've often helped rebuild bits of that wharf. Other people in the neighborhood have too. It's Mr. Wells's wharf, but everybody I think feels very strongly about Jack's wharf and his property and his twine store here.
But if Jack's wharf is unsafe, shouldn't something be done?
Oh, if it's unsafe, it would be great if the city could maybe help us make it safe. That'd be terrific. We're not fighting to keep an unsafe wharf. What we're fighting is to keep a heritage wharf, and we want it to be kept. We want it to be restored. We want it to be rebuilt, and we've done it. We're not asking for public money to do this. This is privately owned wharf, and this is a privately owned properties down here. But we don't want the city to make Mr. Wells and other property owners here tear down this stuff. Or the only other option the city has now given us is that they brought in a whole new set of requirements for the first time ever in Newfoundland recorded history, that it either has to have a building permit, and it has to be, if it's either not demolished, it's got to be. Everybody's supposed to hire their own private marine design engineering consulting company who are supposed to carry out a study, do blueprints, and then private property owners are supposed to hire engineering construction companies to build to industrial standards. So basically what the options are here is either tear it down or build it up so it looks like a Marine Atlantic ferry terminal. And I don't, and I think our association doesn't want to see this place turned into some kind of industrial site, and I don't think we want to see it demolished either. We want to see it taken care of, and we want to take care of it, and we want to be able to keep the heritage quality of the place. We want it to look like traditional fisherman's wharf, and we want it to look like a traditional fisherman's shed and a traditional fisherman's stage. And I think it's perfectly possible to do that in a way that's safe.
Mr. Brooks, thank you very much.
Okay, we're hoping we're going to have a meeting with the city, and we're hoping that they will call off their chainsaws until at least that happens, because after all, if we have a meeting, the worst that can happen is that we're no further ahead and they can send their chainsaws down again. But in the meantime, it would be really nice if they'd hold off until we can have a chance to dialogue like civilized people together.
Well, we'll be watching. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Chris Brooks is the chairman of the Outer Battery Neighborhood Association. We reached him in St. John's, Newfoundland.